Alrighty, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Blogging for Your Business. On this webinar, we're going to be talking about how blogging will be able to grow your business and actually, essentially, how to write a blog. If you're joining us on Zoom, you will be placed on mute. But if you have any questions, you can throw them down into the Q&A box below. And hopefully you can answer this question: what kind of business do you have that blogging could help? And if you guys are joining us on Facebook, you can throw your questions down in the comments below and answer the same question. What kind of business do you guys have that blogging could help? So before we actually get into the presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Joshua. I am a business associate here at the University of La Verne Small Business Development Center. And besides helping with the administration and operations for the center alongside Sophia and Sean, I also run the blog and the promotion for all the content and our YouTube channel. So for those of you who are new to the SBDC, the University of La Verne SBDC is a grant-funded program. We're funded by the SBA and the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development here in the state of California. It's also known as GoBiz. And we help start and grow new businesses in two ways: with free one-on-one consulting and free virtual training and webinars and resources just like this one. So I did ask you a question before, but let me see if we have any answers. What kind of businesses do you guys have for your... Oh, we got a wine business. Blogging could definitely help with that. Interpretation, definitely with that. So those are some good answers right there. But let's get into the actual blogging. There is one thing I need to talk about, which is called content marketing. Basically, it's the umbrella term for podcasting, blogging, video content. And basically, what it is this huge kind of nebulous type of thing that we can talk about real quick. This is the definition, but in a nutshell, all it is that you're creating information that is driving leads and sales. And there's a few principles that we're going to touch on throughout this whole presentation. And I want to go over three of those real quick. So when it comes to content marketing and blogging in general, content marketing and blogging is always going to be customer centric, which means it always speaks to customer issues relevant to the customer. And basically you're focusing on whoever your customer is. It's a kind of pulling strategy. So instead of blasting out advertisements all over the place and hoping somebody will actually bite, you're really tailoring information to a specific customer wherever they are in the journey. If they don't know anything about you, you can create content for them. If they know something about you, but they're not really quite sure if they want to buy your product, you can create content specifically for them as well and pull everybody through the pipeline. And then finally, it's going to be strategic because, creating content is kind of cool and all, but it's useless unless it actually drives leads and sales, which is the whole marketing part of content marketing. But let's actually get into the process of writing a blog post. And the first thing we need to get into is content ideas, because a lot of people, the first problem they have is, what am I supposed to write about? So when it comes to content ideas, we're going to talk about brainstorming. We're going to talk about some tools to make this process a lot easier, and then a framework to kind of supercharge the whole process so you can only do it once a year, depending on how you write your blogs. So the first thing we're going to talk about is brainstorming. And when it comes to brainstorming and coming up with content ideas, there's some things you need to keep in mind. One of them is that the topics should speak to customer issues and pain points. You're speaking to the customer. They should also be relevant to your business. So you shouldn't be talking about vacationing somewhere unless you're kind of a travel agency or you do something related to travel. And then you need to think about the customers, who they are, and what questions they have. Because a lot of times, the only reason they're reading your content is they have questions about your product or your service, and they want them answered. And really, the first place you can start is you already have some questions from customers. You may want to get to those. So, first top 10 questions that you have that people are already asking you, you can make blog posts out of that. So if you do have top 10 questions, or even if you don't, you might have 5 or even a couple, there are some tools that you can use to kind of take this to the next level. And the first thing is going to be a simple Google search. A lot of people like to find stuff on Google all the time. So what you'll need to do is you need to put your customer hat on and kind of figure out what are people who are looking for, say, your product or service. What are they going to be asking? How are they going to find an answer to their question? So that's what Google's for. Type in a question and see what comes up. And those things are going to be things that you want to touch on to bring in your customers. The next kind of tool could be like a presentation or blog list. This usually works with professional businesses, so like business topics, human resources, tech, marketing, things like that. There's a list online that you can search for, and they have a bunch of different topics, 100, 200, 300 topics that you can kind of talk about and write blog posts around those, as long as you know that there's things relevant to your customer that they might want to know. The next kind of tool that we can look at is going to be Quora. And Quora is a question and answer tool. Something similar to Yahoo Answers, if you guys know what that is. It hasn't been around for a while, or if you're old enough like me who actually knows what that is. But basically, you are typing in a question into the platform, and the community, everybody around you, will answer that question. And basically what you can do is you can put in a type of broad keyword. If you're running, say, like a mountain bike company, or you run a bike store and you sell mostly mountain bikes, you can throw that in, that kind of broad keyword, and figure out what people are asking the question and what answers do they have. Now, you don't want to rip off the answers, but you want to see, hey, can I make this answer a little bit better? Are there questions that I can answer? And things like that to come up with some more blog ideas. The next kind of tool is called Answer the Public. And basically what this is they call themselves a question engine. This is where you type in a kind of a broad keyword. Same thing with Quora. And it gives you a bunch of questions and prepositions and things to kind of put together to make blog topics. You can use it a few times a day, but it's not, it is a paid tool if you want to use it for as many times as you want, unlimited. And it does come with a few more analytics, but you can use it for our purposes. You can use it 3 times a day and still actually get a lot of information to go along with the blog posts. And the final tool is going to be a framework, which is actually what I'm going to show you in the next slide. So I found out about this framework in 2020, basically at the height of pandemic, and I needed to kind of figure out what blog posts and things that I wanted to kind of put together, since I made a lot of blog posts before, and I needed to kind of make this process a lot easier. So this is what I did. I read this blog post, which I can share with you later. And what the whole framework is that you have to start out with 4 service areas or kind of buckets. For us, we do 4 service areas, especially with the SBDC. So we start a business, funding a business, growing a business, and government contracting. So those are our 4 buckets that we use to give you guys a little bit more of an example. But then the next step is that we create 3 solutions. that speak to those buckets. So under, say, starting a business, we do business planning, licenses and permits, and buying a business. And then fill all of those out for your 4 buckets and then 3 solutions. And I'll show you guys an example of this when we get to the next slide, because it is kind of daunting when you first start. But the next thing is to come up with 3 to 5 blog topics. And those are going to be your kind of seed keywords and topics to start making titles out of. And when you come up with these 3 to 5 blog topics, what you have to realize is that there's different ways you can cover them. So you can cover them as a Q&A. So you can interview somebody and about that specific topic. We have lists that we do as well. There's a case study. So if you have a customer success story or somebody you want to highlight because you did a good job on their business or as a customer, then you can use that. We do a lot of step-by-step and how-to guides. You can do what's called industry trends. So if you belong to an industry that changes a lot, like marketing or tech or something like that, then you can definitely do that, say, once a year or once every few months to keep people apprised of what's going on in the industry. So let's take a look at the example, because I know I threw out a lot of stuff right now. So let's take a look at an example and break it down what it actually looks like. So this is what I was talking about when I talk about the framework. Again, we have 4 buckets. So these top are the 4 buckets. So starting a business, funding a business, growing a business, and government contracting. And then under each one, we have our major solutions. So business planning, licenses and permits, and buying a business. So under each of these, we're going to have, under business planning, we have starting a restaurant business, actually writing a business plan, competitive research, doing all the things when you start planning a business. Under licenses and permits, we can do filing an EIN, seller's permit, an ABC license for the alcohol beverage control, which all of these we've done before. And then buying a business under franchising or purchase agreements or lease agreements and things like that. So once you have all of these kind of mapped out, you can do up to 36 if you're doing 3 each, which depending on what your schedule is, you can do a couple times a month and be perfectly fine with that. Or you can do them up to, say, 5 or 6 per area and get up to 60 topics or even more. So now you have more topics throughout the whole year. And if you spread it out, you're not blogging every week, you're blogging maybe a couple times a month, then this could spread it out to a couple of years. And you can take a couple of weeks off, here and there. But a lot of this stuff, you can only have to do this once a year or maybe twice a year if you're really good at blogging and not have to do this for a while. So this is a really good tool that you can use to get all that stuff done. But once we have all of our topics together, now we have to do what's called research. And a lot of people don't understand what research is, but all this really is that it's going to be 2 things. Informative research, so you can kind of flesh out these ideas and kind of get a little bit more apprised of what you're talking about. And then search engine optimization or SEO. And I'll explain what that is in the next slide. So I do have a confession to make. I am not an expert on a lot of the topics that I talk about. I do have a degree. That doesn't really mean anything. But what I do is I do a lot of research into the topic so I know how to get that information across to the readers. And what I do is I, supplement knowledge and kind of find information to make it easier for people to understand. The way I do this is go through authoritative sources, government studies, facts, figures, grab some visuals and graphs and things like that to make it easier for people to understand what we're talking about here. And then the other research we go through is SEO. And SEO is search engine optimization, which is basically a group of techniques to increase the visibility of your articles on Google or on any kind of search engine. So let's go over a couple of different things that kind of involve SEO, and then we can kind of talk about those. So the first thing is going to be keywords. Now, I mentioned keywords a few times before, but this is basically where it comes in. So keywords are the number one factor that will go into blog searches or any search really. That's how Google finds things. You figure out what a keyword is, and then it tries to match up what people are searching for. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you have the right keywords in your blog posts and in your titles and everything else, so that Google knows what things to find and actually serve up to somebody who's searching. So the first tool that we can use is going to be the Keyword Planner. Now this actually comes free with a Google Ads account. You don't have to buy anything, but when you log into your account, you have to have a Gmail account or a Google account to do this. But once you log in, you're actually able to look up specific kinds of keywords and kind of figure out what people are searching for, what the competition looks like, if people are searching a lot of it, if there are other businesses who are actually using this keyword. You know, the more competition, the harder it is going to be a breakthrough, like with anything. But you can actually kind of figure all that stuff out. And then I'll show you later in the outline where all that stuff goes, so you can kind of figure out how to put together the blog post. The next one is going to be Keywords Everywhere. It's a Chrome extension by a marketing company called Moz. And basically, if you download this extension, it gives you a bunch of information on not only keywords, but also you can take a look at competitors and other successful blogs who are kind of in your industry, and you can figure out, hey, what keywords do they use? What things can you use in conjunction with what you're doing, and to kind of give you better insight on what to talk about, what things can you use, what keywords can you use to make you searching for your blog post a lot easier. And then the final thing is going to be Google Trends. Now, Google Trends is a tool that I didn't really know about until I started looking at it. But Google Trends is a tool that kind of shows you the trending and the popularity of specific keywords at certain times. So let's actually take a look at it, because what I ended up using it for was for a blog post that I wanted to write about limited liability companies and how to start one. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to use, create a blog post of how to start a limited liability company here in the state of California. And when I looked at it, should I use limited liability company or LLC? Well, we're looking at it like this, it looks pretty good. You know, it's getting a lot of traffic, a lot of interest, but what about compared to LLC? Well, if I do that, you can take a look at it, and LLC is in red. So you can see there's a lot more interest in LLC. A lot of people are preferring the keyword LLC than to limited liability company. So that's basically what I use to figure out how to title my blog and what keyword to use. So I scrapped everything with limited liability company, used LLC, and now we get a lot of kind of traffic to our actual blog post and to the video that goes along with it. So that's one way to use Google Trends. You can use it if you're doing specific blog posts and other things around a specific topic. You can figure out, hey, is this topic the right time to talk about this? Or should I wait, or something like that? So the next thing we can talk about is going to be structure. And what structure is kind of the other side of SEO. Structure is headings, tags, a lot of the nerdy SEO stuff, but it's very, very important when it comes to writing a blog or putting together a website and things like that. Because how Google actually reads your blog post or reads your page is that in those meta descriptions and tags and things like that, it breaks out different things. So if you're talking about something in a specific paragraph, it'll actually look at that and say, hey, this is what this person was searching for. This keyword is in there. This is what I'll show them. And that's what, there are different pieces of a particular blog post that Google will actually look at and serve up to somebody who's searching. So that's kind of how that works. And I'll actually show you how that works and kind of break it down in the outline. But the final part is going to be your headline or your title. And what the title does is the first thing, the first impression that you're going to give somebody when they read a blog. So if you've ever heard of BuzzFeed, BuzzFeed is a news organization that actually has something close to this tool. It's their own proprietary type of thing. Based on all of their articles, all of their search history and things like that, it kind of puts everything together and creates titles for them. This tool is not as sophisticated as that because we don't have a lot of data, but what it does is that it's made by CoSchedule. You can download it as a Chrome extension. If you go into Google Docs or something, you can type out a title or a heading that you want or a headline that you want to use. And once you have this extension installed, you can actually click on it and it will give you a bunch of information. Are you using the right keywords? What does the SEO look like? Should you make it shorter, longer, use different kinds of words, synonyms and things like that to make it more interesting? Because when people are searching for different kinds of things online, the first thing they're going to see is that title, and if it's interesting enough for them to click on it, they will. So those are the things that we kind of need to think about when it comes to the research, and I'll get into, when we get into the outline, I'll show you where all that research goes to actually put things together in the right way for the blog post. But first, let's pause right here because I've thrown a lot of information at you. Let's see if anybody has any questions. So Sophia, how's it going? Do we have any questions so far?
All right, so we had a couple questions in regards to getting a recording and if we're going to get the slides. And yes, we are going to be sending a follow-up email with the slides and with a recording of the webinar and all the resources mentioned.
Okay.
And kind of a comment or question someone had was, do you need to give Google your credit card in order to use Keyword Planner?
So you don't have to give them your credit card. You can actually bypass that step. The only time you would give them a credit card is if you're going to run ads. Okay. So if you're using the Keyword Planner specifically to create ads, to advertise your business with Google AdWords, then you would need to give them your credit card. Otherwise, you can kind of bypass that. It's a little difficult on how to bypass that. I don't really have enough time to talk about it right now, but you can bypass that and you can just use the Keyword Planner, or there are a bunch of other kind of keyword tools that come to mind if Google the Google Ads Keyword Planner doesn't work very well for you. There's one called Ubersuggest, where if you can use it and you get 3 searches, but if you want to pay more, you can get unlimited searches and you get a lot more data that Google AdWords may not give you. So you can use either one of those tools, but Google AdWords is a pretty good tool. It's free and you can use it and I'll kind of show you how that works with the outline and putting all that information together.
All right, and then we just have another question coming in. It says, should I establish/register my business before I start blogging? Is it absolutely necessary?
That depends on how you're actually running your business. So if your business is blogging, then you can definitely do it as a hobby and start out like that. But if you have a business other than actually writing the blog, you may want to establish your business first. Only reason is because the blogging is going to drive business to your company. So you want to have that up, and to make sure that that business is able to deliver on whatever content you're promising, whatever solutions you're promising to the customer. So you want to have that up as far as the business. The blogging is only a marketing mechanism for people to actually come and actually buy from you. So you want to have that stuff set up the right way. And you can always come to the SBDC, give us a call, and we can help you set up the business as quickly as possible, and then we can get you going on blogging, marketing, and kind of growing your business.
All right. And then Monica said, thank you, Monica, for asking this question. And we have another question. I've heard of establishing backlinks or incoming links from authoritative sources in blogging or posts. Can you explain on how this is done?
So when it comes to establishing backlinks, I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly. If the way you backlink to authoritative sources is a good idea, because now you're actually building authority with yourself, because you're actually backlinking to news articles, government sources, and it actually gives yourself a little bit more authority when it comes to what you're talking about. On the other side, creating backlinks, you may want to share them with other either guest blogging or other sites to create backlinks to your website or to your blog. The more times you actually have your blog in different places on social media or Google My Business or another website, it gives you more authority when it comes to I can this blog post has been in like 3 different places, so Google thinks it's like, oh, they must be an authoritative source, so we'll give your website or blog page a little bit more SEO standard when it comes to status, when it comes to actually serving up your blog post to people. So you want to create backlinks to your blog post, but you also want to use authoritative sources, because Google actually counts that towards your SEO as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. That's all the questions that we have for right now. And if anybody's watching who has questions, please use the Q&A feature in Zoom. We'll be happy to address it later on in the webinar. Thanks, Josh. Okay.
And do we have anything on Facebook? Because I know we're actually streaming out to Facebook right now. We're streaming out to a couple of different pages. So we're partnering up with the Laverne Chamber. So are we getting any traffic on that?
We don't have anything just yet on Facebook, and I want to apologize to our folks who are watching on Facebook. We had a little glitch. It didn't go live automatically at 10, but we came in around the research side. So if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you give us a comment, a like, or get your questions in that comment feature.
Okay. Well, don't worry. We're going to get to the more important stuff right now. So let's get back to the presentation and let's get into the actual outline. So this is going to be the backbone of everything that you're going to be doing. And I'll show you what an outline looks like, an actual example one, and then one we actually used for a blog post. But yeah, so this is where all the information is going to be going. So the information that is on your outline is going to be the headline, the SEO, and then the actual written stuff that we kind of put together. But you know what, let's take a look at an outline and I'll kind of explain what all this stuff is. So this is a blog post outline. You actually will get the link to this, so you can actually take a look at it and start blogging on your own. But so the outline will have, say, the headline like this as well. So the title, this is going to be your SEO information. So whatever keyword you're going to be using, like how to start an LLC or LLC, limited liability company, anything like that, you're going to put your keyword here. How many searches this keyword gets. So how popular it is it something worth doing? Author name, if you're going to be the author, don't worry about it. If you have somebody else writing for you, this is how you keep track of those things. The due date and publish date, so you know how to plan things out. And then the final thing is going to be your targeted reader or buyer persona. This is basically who you're talking to. Are they further back into the pipeline where somebody who needs more information and kind of the basics? Or is this somebody who knows a little bit more about the subject and you're basically trying to get them to buy your product or service at a certain point? But then the next part is going to be our introduction. We have 3 sections we're going to be writing about, and then we have our conclusion. And so the introduction is basically you're starting out with a problem because everybody is, worried about solving a problem. So you think of a problem that the person has related to this keyword, and then you can write one little blurb about the solution that you're offering. And that's how you start, the problem and the solution. And then we want to make the solution relatable. Is it something that they can actually do? Is it something that the reader will actually care about? And then how we kind of put all that stuff together is offering a WIFM, a what's in it for me? Why should they be reading? You can start out with a statistic or a fact. You can start out with a little story about how you were in the situation and how you got out of it. And then, or some kind of, you can use some copywriting kind of strategery to ask them a question and kind of keep pulling on those strings to make it a little bit more emotional so people actually keep reading. And then, so the 3 points here, the WIFM, what's in it for them? These 3 points are going to be your header points. Really easy, break it down. It doesn't have to be too complicated. And will this convince them to actually keep reading? Because the whole point of one sentence is to keep them reading the next sentence and so on until the end of the block. So then we have our header sections here. These are your 3 points. So point 1, this is what you're going to talk about. And then if you have some subpoints, you kind of write those in and kind of flesh those things out. I have some notes in here. You can write 3 to 5 paragraphs. So each point is going to be a paragraph. No more than 3 sentences. It doesn't have to be longer than, no longer than 25 words. We're going to make this super simple, super easy to read. It doesn't have to be rocket science. And as we go through this, we get to our conclusion, wrap up the 3 points. What did they learn? Remember, quick tips, anything else that they should kind of understand walking away from this blog post. And then we have a call to action because we need them to do something. Should they be reading more blog posts? Should they, do you have a lead magnet, something for them to download so they can get more information? Do you want them to get on a strategy call with you or, buy your product or service or something like that if they're in that stage? So a lot of this stuff is the marketing part of the content marketing. But let's go back because I did want to show you how all of this breaks down into an actual blog post. So I have an example right here of a blog post that we did a little while ago on how lines of credit work. Oops, don't need that. So how lines of credit work, I broke it down really easily. I followed this formula almost exactly. So let's kind of run through it. What's the problem? We have small business owners who find themselves short on cash and, at the wrong time. And, I tug on that a little bit more. Business loans might not work for them. So a business line of credit is something that they can use. And that's the solution. So then our 3 points, what's in it for them? We have what a line of credit is, if it's right for them, how to secure a line of credit, so the application part of it, and then some tips on to increase their chances of getting it. So I literally break it down. What's a line of credit? Here's a little definition. There's 2 kinds, so secured and unsecured, to kind of explain those, and some benefits and drawbacks. Is this right for them? If it is, we move on. How to get one. We have to find a bank who will actually do one. There's online resources who can do something for you as well. What does that look like? Here we have the application process. What do you need to know if you want to apply for one? And there's going to be some required documents that you may need to furnish to whoever's doing the loan or the line of credit so that you'll be able to actually get one. And then finally, some tips. Know your need. You have to know how much you need before you actually get it. You have to understand your credit because you may not have the right credit for the line of credit that you're looking for. So you have to understand that. You may need to build it up over a certain amount of time, which also brings into our third tip, which is you want to plan ahead. You don't want to be caught looking for money when you're out of it. You don't want to scramble. You want to be able to plan ahead and make it a little bit more comfortable for your business and not have to be scrambling for money all over the place. And then finally, the conclusion, this is what the line of credit is, what it does. You should think about these things, the 3 tips, and just kind of summarize the whole thing. And that's literally a blog post. That's how I did it. Super easy, super simple. Took me maybe a couple of hours to kind of find this information and kind of put it all together. So, which will get us to the actual writing of the blog post. Now, the writing of the blog post may seem like the most daunting thing after what do I write about? Because a lot of people, I'm not a writer. I went to college. I haven't written anything in years. I feel like I have to write this book report or this whole, paper, 3-page, 12-page paper. It's like, you don't have to go that far. So let's get to this. And this might be really facetious about saying it, but blogging and the writing part of blogging, it probably is the easiest part to accomplish. And so I do have a link in the slides once you get them about how 2 bloggers actually challenge themselves to write a blog post in a single hour on a topic they know nothing about. So if they can do it, you can do it. But the biggest tip that I can offer you is that you want to write how you speak. So just like I'm talking to you, I'm explaining things in, as if you were standing or sitting right in front of me. That's kind of how you want to explain your blog and kind of start writing like that. So the best tool you could probably use is a speech to text tool. I know Google Docs has one. You can use Siri or some other type of speech to text tool and kind of write how you speak and just kind of make sure that you have the grammatical stuff kind of set up after when you start editing. But if you are using a speech to text tool, what kind of tool are you actually using? So websites like WordPress, Wix, Squarespace do have blogging features. So you can create your own blog within your website if you have that kind of website. Otherwise, you can use, say, a Blogger website like we do. And we have a separate platform from our website that we kind of send people to get all this information on our blogs and other things that we can do. There's another platform called Medium, which has a little bit more SEO than, say, Blogger, but works the same way. You create your profile, you write your articles, and you can actually schedule them to get published. And the scheduling thing is going to be really key when we come to the actual promotion and things like that. But LinkedIn, same thing. LinkedIn has articles. So if you're more professional and you want to speak to more professional people, you can post stuff on LinkedIn as an article and it gets put to your company page. And that's how you can share your information to prospects and customers and even people who actually follow your business. And then after we actually start writing things and we have everything down on, say, a Google Docs, and we need to copy it over, we can use a program called Grammarly. Grammarly is an editing tool. So if you have Google Docs and you can just use the regular spell check, on that, I tend to use Grammarly a lot because it does help you with shortening sentences and using words that maybe that are less useful. So it makes it easier for people to read. Although when I use the speech to text tool, it actually will tell me that you're not using the right words, or I like to use things to make an emphasis. So I usually discard those things because I don't like that. But you can use those kinds of things, Grammarly tools, or regular spell check, or for what is it, Microsoft Word or something like that. The other thing you can use is a friend who, trusted friend or a business partner who can actually take a look at your stuff. They don't have to be, a super grammar nerd, or what is it, thesaurus nerd, or anything else like that. But what you can do is, just ask them, hey, does this make sense? Do the ideas come across? Is this something you can understand? And that's basically all you really want them to do, is for somebody who didn't know about this actual topic, for them to actually understand what the points you're trying to get across, because that's what you're trying to do with your blog. So once we have all of that stuff done, all the research, all the editing, all the writing, everything done, now it's time to publish and promote. We need to get your blog out to the world. So there's a couple of things that we can do. So again, we can post our blog to a blogging site or some other type of website or service that we already have. Blogger, Medium, WordPress, LinkedIn, all of those things have good SEO that will actually get found. And you can also use different types of, Squarespace and everything to get that stuff out. The biggest thing is going to be scheduling. That's really what you want to do, is you want to have something that actually has a scheduling tool, because you don't want to be blogging every week all the time. I don't do that. I actually like to batch all my blogs. I send them out to Sophia and Sean. It's like, hey, does this look good? Is this what, does this come across? They give me some notes, either on Google Docs, and then I schedule everything out. And then, a couple of weeks later, then I'll work on another blog or do something like that. I'm not blogging all the time at all, although Sean tells me I feel like I'm doing it all the time. I'm not. I'm just planning things out according to the calendar and the schedule that I have. So once you publish on all those sites, we can also promote through social media. So we do a lot of stuff on Facebook and LinkedIn. So I'll publish a link. Again, I schedule everything out. So you can publish a link on social media. When the time comes, whatever day you're going to be publishing, it'll get sent out and say, hey, there's a new blog coming up, and a link to it. And I do this on LinkedIn as well, to link to the blog, and then I'll actually post the whole blog on LinkedIn articles as kind of a backup the week after, so that I get a lot of traffic to the website, and then it gets posted on LinkedIn afterwards so they can actually read it, and I get an extra boost of views and things like that. So the next thing we can do is also promote it through Google My Business. We have a really good Google My Business, so we get a lot of SEO through that. We get a lot of searches through that. So a lot of people out when they're searching with University of Laverne or SBDC, we come up, and they also see a lot of the articles, and we actually get a lot of traffic from that as well. So that might be something you want to do. It may take a little while to actually get that up and running as far as traffic wise. Google My Business is really easy to get started, but you may want to, it may not yield as much stuff at the beginning, but once you start building up your presence online and things like that, it will yield some traffic to your website and actually get you found maybe a little bit easier on Google as well. So these are the basic things that you can do. Now there's some more advanced things that you can do that we do here at the center that you may be interested in. So what we like to do is we like to take our blog posts and turn them into videos. And so if you're not a video kind of person, you may want to kind of practice with this before you actually start publishing anything. But basically what we do is we'll create a blog post. completely written out, edited and everything. And then we take that blog post, and that's actually a script for a video. Just sit in front of a computer like this or in front of a camera and, give all the points that I had into the blog. And that's basically the video. I'll take some pictures and things that were in the blog, or I can go find some stock photos or something, put that in between to make it a little bit more interesting. But now you have, like what we do is we have it on the blog. Now we have it on social media, on our Facebook, our LinkedIn, and our Google My Business. Sometimes we'll post the video on Google My Business. Sometimes it doesn't work very well, but to each their own. But yeah, and then we have YouTube, and then we upload those videos to LinkedIn and Facebook after that to get more times to the same blog post. If you saw the blog post before on how business lines of credit work, there was a video at the top. That video goes to YouTube. That blog post is on our blog, and all of those things have different types of traffic come into that one article. So that's how you can do it. It doesn't really take any more work to do. It's just knowing how to do it and putting those things together. Another thing that you can do, which is a little bit more advanced and may actually take a team to do it. I do it on my own because I don't have any more time. I don't have anything else to do, but create content, or at least that's what everybody tells me. But we do a tactic called, or kind of a strategy called proliferation. And basically what we do is we cut things down. So we have the whole blog post, we have the videos. Those go out to where we need them to on the day they get published. And then we cut that video up into, say, smaller 1 to 2 minute videos, because they tend to be like 10 minutes long. So we cut those up into snippets, maybe 2 to 3, post them after the blog post or after the video, and drive them back to the blog. Same thing with our quotes or anything else. If we're interviewing somebody, there might be a quote that we like. We'll put that into a social media post and drive them back to the blog. Or it could be something from that blog. If you said something that you really like, you can do that with that as well. And same thing with infographics. If you have a graph or something that gets your information across, you can use that as well. You can use a free tool like Canva to kind of put all that stuff together and schedule it out on platforms that you may not be able to even schedule, like LinkedIn. We kind of use it for that as well. So we do all of that stuff. And this leads to all kinds of promotion, proliferation. You can transform your blog into 20 different ways. From one piece of content, you can spread it out into 20. So that's how you can actually increase your value of the blog and the kind of reach of the blog. But that's going to be it for all of the tips. So let's go back to some of the questions, because I saw there were some questions and hopefully we'll be able to answer those. Sophia, how's it going?
Going good, Josh. Thank you so much for this great presentation. We do have a few questions.
Okay.
As we're going to answer them, I encourage our viewers to put your questions in the Q&A so we can get them answered. So our first question is from Christy Hansen. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, hi, Christy.
What is the optimal word count on blogs these days?
Oh my gosh, I knew this question was coming up. So, realistically, it should be however many words it takes for you to get your idea across. That's the short answer. The more accurate answer is SEO wise, about 1,200 words. So if you look at the outline that I have, it actually breaks it out into between 900 and 1,200 words. If you take all the notes and the word counts and everything. So about 1,200 to 1,500 words is, the low or high end of blogging. So you kind of want to shoot for that area. Like I said, it doesn't really matter all that much, especially, and it kind of depends on your industry and what the business does and things like that. But SEO wise, 1,200 words is good enough for you. If you want to go longer, you can. If you want to go shorter, you can. It really doesn't even matter. But SEO wise, 1,200 words.
Thanks, Josh. Our next question, is it better to have a blog stated on one of these websites instead of your own Shopify website?
Oh, that's a good question. If you have a Shopify website, or if you have a website where your business is, that should be your kind of first platform. For us, the way our website is set up, that wasn't possible. Nature of the program and things like that, logistically speaking. But you definitely want to have a blog on your website if possible, because then, once you have that set up, you can have a little menu item called blog, which most websites do, and they can learn about information about your business. And if they have any questions and things like that, that's probably going to be the first place they're going to look to get more information about the business and the products. And then they'll start looking at the products and things like that. If you have links to specific products you talk about or that you carry, that's a good idea too. But you definitely want to start with your website first if you can. If not, then you can use a different kind of platform, but start with your website first.
All right, awesome, thank you. Our next question is, how do you put your blog on Google My Business, or do you just put the link there?
Oh, that is actually a good question. So if you have a Google My Business set up, what we do is we'll put in a snippet. So I like to do like the introduction, which is maybe like 50 words or so. And I do it under what's new. That's one of the post types. What's new, you put in a little blurb. We put in either the title card or the video that we make. And then you put in a link to the blog. So introduction or some kind of blurb of the blog post, and then a link to the blog. So gets them interested in it. I like to use the title card because that's basically our headline. So they get interested, they see the picture, they see what the blog post is about. They read the little kind of description of what the blog post might be about, piques their interest, and then there's a link to drive them back to the website. So I like to do a little blurb, and then definitely have a picture or a video and a call to action to make sure that they know where they're going.
All right, our next question is about establishing a blog on Blogger, for instance, but then I created a Wix website. How
Okay.
can I consolidate or merge my established blog to my new website?
Ooh, that is a good question. That's going to be a little bit more technical.
Yeah.
It will kind of depend on how many blog posts you have and where everything's going. So you can definitely have them separate, but if you want to consolidate everything, you may want to just take those blog posts and create a blog page on your Wix website and start publishing there. And then you can take the old blog posts and put them on the Wix website. It does get rid of a lot of the SEO. And if you link to it, you may want to kind of redo the links. That might be a little bit more work than what it's worth. But you definitely you can have that still, but you want to, from this point on, you want to have your new blog posts posted up on your Wix website if that's where you want them to go, to get more, for them to get more information on your products and services so that they can be there instead of sending them to somewhere else, because they may get confused and don't know where to buy something if you don't have that, if you're not linking to things back and forth. But you, like the question earlier, you definitely want to consolidate that on your Wix website. If you have a lot of blog posts on your Blogger, you may just have to part with them, or you can port them over to your new Wix website and just kind of do away with the Blogger. Just make sure whatever is linked to that is now linked to the Wix website, so you can get all that SEO back to the Wix website instead of your Blogger. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, definitely lots of options, and doing what's best for you and your business, of course. And right now, oh, Veronica says yes, thank you so much
Okay.
for answering her question. And right now, that's all the questions that we have.
Okay.
Thank you so much for inputting your answers, your questions, and we're happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay. And Sean, do we have anybody on Facebook?
We got the stream fixed. Sorry about that. And we got the
Okay.
cross post worked out. So big shout out to all the Laverne Chamber members who may be watching today, and Leah. But we do have comments here.
Okay.
How do you recommend getting over the fear of blogging, and how did you get started blogging?
Ooh, how did I get started blogging? That is a good question. I got started because I asked Sean, hey, can I write a blog? And I showed it to him. Originally, we didn't, it's not something that we wanted to do. In fact, actually, it's something that we couldn't do. The way we work, or the way the LA network works for SBDCs, is that there is a blog on a main site that people can actually go to. And it was kind of difficult to get information onto that website because we didn't really have control over that. So what we ended up doing is like, well, why don't we just post stuff on our own kind of Blogger, on our Blogger website, and see what happens. So that's what we ended up doing, and we just made social media posts go to that. And then that's when the video started. And the video thing can be a whole nother presentation, which we may get into sometime in the future. But for now, we kind of just took a leap, and we kind of just took a chance and said, hey, is this something we can do? We don't get too many views on it. We actually get a fair amount of people reading it, but we always link to it. And a lot of people like our stuff. They like the YouTube channel as well. So it's a lot of free information that we get to people. But how we started, we took a chance. That's the best thing I can do. If you want to start blogging, take a chance, write a couple of articles, share them with somebody, make sure they're grammatically correct. But, if you think it's something that you want to do to grow your business, throw out an article or two, see what happens. If you get a lot of response, say, hey, maybe this might be something that will actually grow our business, especially like on LinkedIn or some other kind of platform. But yeah, it's really just kind of taking a chance and seeing if that's what people want. You can always survey them and ask people, hey, do you think you'd benefit from something that people might want to read? Or even the videos. I mean, you can, if blogging is not your thing, you could be better in front of a camera, just talking to people like I am right now. That might be your speed, or podcasting or something. So you may want to do that. But content marketing in general, take a chance, see how it works. You don't have to show it to the world, but just to get an idea of how that stuff works for you, and if it fits within your schedule of, marketing your business, can you do it, a couple times a month? If not, then, you may want to either schedule things out or, figure out a better way to make use of your time when it comes to growing your business. That's a long-winded answer for a simple question. Okay. But I don't know if do we have any other questions? I don't know if anybody's actually like asking questions. Let's see, what do we got here? I see a lot of people. Okay.
So
I know a lot of people were talking about actually like what kind of businesses they have. Thank you for answering that question. It's kind of an icebreaker for us, but I see a lot of cool businesses that could definitely benefit from blogging. So thank you for that. But do we have any other questions?
So Veronica did ask a question. What do we use for video platforms, or have we used Canva? And the answer is yes. All the videos that Josh does is through YouTube, and we do use Canva for a lot of our content. We do have another couple questions.
Sure.
What do you suggest to do in the case of misunderstandings, personal attacks, or insults?
Oh, negative comments. That's a good question. Ignore them. No. So what you want to do is, if the information that you're conveying is, just factual information about your business, and you have haters or people who don't like what you have to say, then there's a couple of different things you can do. So you can either ignore them and say, hey, I'm on the right track, this is what I want to do. Or you can actually, respond to them and say, hey, I'm sorry, this is not what you want to hear. Is there any way that I can, make this blog better, or information to come across? Sometimes it's going to be ideological, people just don't like you. So you have to kind of weigh that with what's best for your business.
Josh, if I could jump in too, I've seen a
Sure.
lot on social media. We've established like a policies for the page. Do you think, like for our Facebook page, it's like, okay, we're creating this group, we're creating this page for this purpose to help small business. So, but beyond that, it's like we also include things to discuss and things not to discuss. Does that also transcend to a blog? Is there like a blog policies kind of page, or you think that
You can, yeah, so you can make certain moderation policies on like a website. So when people, if you're allowing comments on specific pages, you can say, hey, hateful comments or things like that, keep them constructive and things like that. That can be kind of a note on some of your blog posts. If you have like WordPress or something, you can actually do that. But on Blogger, it's not really possible. It's just going to be down to moderation. So you may have to respond to those comments, or even in your blog post, just before you get to like the comment section, you can put in a little note, hey, constructive criticism only, and things like that. And don't be afraid to comment or reply to negative stuff, because sometimes the legitimate criticisms, and you just kind of have to understand what is a legitimate criticism and what is, just kind of people being haters. It's the best way I can put it. But you may want to kill them with kindness. Make a a very polite saying, I'm sorry, you don't feel that way, or something like that. But if it's specifically trollish, yeah, don't feed the trolls. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry. Don't even give it your time. If it's overly just like you suck or something like that, yeah, don't worry about that. So
All right.
it's very internet stuff.
Our next question, does the look of the blog make a difference? I know Shopify has limitations on making it look, quote, pretty.
Design does help. So our blog is very, very simple. We have some branding colors. So we, red, white, and blue, because we're SBA. We're related with the SBA and things like that. But design does help. So if you are more interested in the design of the blog, then you may want to work on the design. But the whole point of the blog is the content, the actual written part of it. If people are reading your stuff and you're getting that information, conveyed to your customers, but you want it to also look well, then make it look good. Then you may want to invest in some kind of design, make it simple, but also kind of you can do minimalistic, however you want to do it. With blogging and design stuff in general, usually less is more. So design does help a lot, but you want to focus on the content first before you start working on design.
A follow-up question to that is, since design is helpful, would you recommend placing the blog on a blogging website and then linking that to your website?
Um, that's kind of like the question from before. Should you use a blogging website aside from your own website? Technically you could, but you want to have everything consolidated in one. So if it's not possible, you can go out to another website, but if at all possible, try to keep everything, consolidated in one place. There are ways to design specific sites with Shopify. You may want to look into how you can actually get somebody to kind of design it with CSS and HTML to make it look a little prettier, but you can do that. So honestly, I would just focus on the design. Like our blog isn't like the best looking thing in the world. So focus on the content first. If you want it to make it look pretty, find other ways to make the design look better before you go out sourcing to another platform. But
Thank you. That's all the questions we have on.
ooh,
Thanks.
alrighty. And nothing on Facebook yet?
Nothing, we're good now.
Okay, so we're good. That's it. Everybody go home. No, I'm just kidding. Really, I hope this presentation was informative for you. A lot of small business owners want to grow their business and look to getting into blogging. So I hope this actually helps you on that journey to grow your business. But you can always contact us here at the University of La Verne SBDC. You can schedule an appointment if you have registered with our Zoom session. You can do that. Just give us a call, 909-448-1567. The lines will be open after this presentation. So we're going to be answering all kinds of calls. I hope so. Otherwise, if you are viewing this on Facebook and you're not a client, you can actually log on to or go on to lavernesbdc.org/new client. Sign up as a client, takes 10 minutes. We'll give you a call right back and schedule an appointment to meet with one of our consultants to actually help you with blogging or basically anything with your business. So that's it. I mean, everything looks good, but you know what? If everybody has no more questions, thank you for watching my presentation and humoring me for the last hour. But we'll see you in the next presentation, and hopefully it'll be something on video production and marketing, because that's what I like to do. But have a nice day, everybody, and we'll see you later.